The table edge dug into her ribs as they forced her down. Hands everywhere. Too many. Pinning. Gripping. Blocking. The room smelled like cologne and polished wood and something sharp. Fear, maybe, or sweat pretending not to be. Relax, one of them said. Like this was a misunderstanding she was responsible for fixing. She tried to pull in a breath. Couldn't. Her chest stuttered instead. Shallow and useless. The walls felt closer than they should have been. The ceiling too low. The glass panels trapping sound, trapping air. Someone laughed. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The confidence behind it pressed harder than the hands. She twisted, testing strength she didn't have. A wrist slipped for half a second before another grip replaced it. Firmer this time, P. More annoyed now. As if resistance was rude. Hold her, a voice said. Come. Bored. Her vision tunneled. Edges darkening. She focused on the table grain, on the tiny scratch near her cheek, on anything that wasn't the weight of them. She opened her mouth to scream. Nothing came out. Across the room, behind tinted glass and shadow, a man watched. He didn't move when she struggled. Didn't react when her breath hitched. Didn't flinch when the laughter turned sharp. His gaze tracked everything with detached precision. The hands, the timing, the moment confidence tipped into certainty. He noted when they stopped being cautious. That was important. The attack continued. Seconds stretched. Each one felt deliberate. Chosen. And somewhere in the back of the room, untouched by chaos, the man remained still. Watching. Waiting. He had chosen the seat before anyone else arrived. The corner booth. Frosted glass. A view that showed everything without inviting attention. From here, the room revealed its habits. The way people leaned when they lied, how they blocked exits without realizing it, which men believed the space belonged to them. He noticed when the door closed. Not slammed. Not locked. Closed with confidence. He noticed how long it took for help not to come. The men were sloppy now. That always happened once they thought they'd won. One of them shifted his weight wrong, exposing the inside of his jacket. Another raised a phone too early, eager, careless. The woman's breathing changed. That mattered. Panic made patterns. Fear exposed timing. He watched her chest stutter, the way her focus narrowed, the moment survival instinct replaced hope. Still, he didn't move. Intervening too early would have consequences. He knew that. It would give them deniability. Confusion. A story they could tell themselves later. He waited for certainty. For the moment the line was crossed so completely that no version of the night could be rewritten. A hand pressed her down harder. A laugh cut off abruptly. Irritated now. There it was. He straightened. Just slightly. Not to help her. To mark the point of no return. Because when he finally stepped out of the shadows, it wouldn't be to stop what was happening. It would be to make sure it could never be undone. She never took jobs like this unless she had to. Places with glass walls and quiet rules. Places where security badges mattered more than muscle. Where cameras existed not for decoration, but because someone powerful cared about reputation. She had chosen this place for the same reason she chose everything else in her life. It was controlled. Same entrance. Same shift. Same routine every night. Predictability was safety. If you could anticipate movement, you could avoid it. If you stayed quiet, stayed useful, stayed forgettable, nothing followed you home. That had been her rule for years. Become part of the background. Don't give anyone a reason to remember your face. She dressed to disappear. Neutral colors, hair pulled tight, nothing that caught the eye. She learned where to stand so she wasn't trapped between tables. Learned which corners felt wrong and which exits stayed unlocked. She counted without realizing it. Steps to the door. Seconds between security rounds. Breaths when the room felt too small. This place promised protection. That was the unspoken contract. Discretion for everyone. Silence enforced by money and cameras. No one got hurt here. She believed that. Right up until the door closed behind her without a sound. They treated the room like it belonged to them. Chairs dragged where they wanted them. Glasses left wherever hands dropped. One of them joked about the lighting, another about how quiet it was. The laughter came easy, loose, practiced, shared by men who had never paid for their own mistakes. "Relax," one said, glancing around. "No one hears anything in here." Another smirked. "That's the point." They spoke in half-sentences, inside references, the kind of language that assumed loyalty from the walls themselves. Power had taught them the room would always cooperate. She kept her head down and did what she always did. Listened. One of them complained about the signal. Another pulled out a second phone, newer, unmarked. It passed from hand to hand beneath the table, quick and careful, wrapped in the kind of caution that didn't match their laughter. A card slipped free. Small. Black. Barely visible as it disappeared into a pocket that wasn't the same one it came from. "Don't lose it this time," someone muttered. She noticed because she noticed everything. Because survival depended on it. They didn't see her eyes flicker. Didn't register the half-second of stillness. To them, she was background noise. Furniture. A shadow moving past with a tray. They leaned back, satisfied. Untouchable. None of them noticed the way one phone stayed on the table a moment too long. Still recording. She tried to leave. That was all it took. A single step back, careful and polite, the way you retreated from danger without admitting you'd seen it. Her fingers tightened around the edge of the tray. Her pulse beat too loud in her ears. "Hey!" The word cracked like a whip. She stopped. "Where do you think you're going?" "I need to check on another table," she said. The words came out steady. Practiced. The lie was small enough to be harmless. One of them stood. Not fast. Not angry. Certain. The space shifted. Chairs blocked the aisle. Bodies rearranged themselves without discussion. An instinctive choreography born from years of getting what they wanted. "Empty your pockets." Her breath caught. "I didn't take anything." A hand closed around her wrist. Not hard. Not yet. "Don't make this difficult." The tray slipped from her fingers and hit the floor. Glass shattered. The sound felt enormous, even though the room swallowed it whole. Someone laughed again. Short, annoyed. That wasn't a suggestion. They moved as one. The table edge slammed into her back. Hands pinned her arms. The air vanished from her lungs in a sharp, brutal rush. Panic exploded, white and blinding. She tried to scream. Nothing came out. Her world narrowed to weight and pressure and the sick realization that this wasn't intimidation anymore. This was punishment. Across the room, the watcher felt it too. The moment hesitation died. The moment excuses ran out. He didn't intervene. Not yet. The lights didn't flicker. They died. Sound went with them. Music, ventilation, the low hum of power that had always been there without anyone noticing. It vanished so completely it felt like pressure against the ears. Then the doors sealed. Not with a slam, but with a synchronized hydraulic hiss, precise and mechanical. Every exit at once. The sound was unmistakable. Locked. Red emergency lights ignited overhead, bathing the room in a color that didn't belong to comfort or safety. It made skin look wrong. Made smiles disappear. "What the hell?" someone muttered. Hands loosened. Just slightly. Enough to feel the difference. The men looked around now. Not amused. Not relaxed. Phones came out instinctively, screens dead, no signal, no control. One of them tried the door. Nothing. Another laughed, but the sound cracked halfway through. "This isn't funny." Across the room, a shape shifted behind the frosted glass. A chair scraped softly. Footsteps followed. Measured. Unhurried. The watcher stepped into the red light. For the first time since the night began, he was visible. And for the first time, they understood something was wrong. Very wrong. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't rush. He stepped into the open as if the room had been waiting for him all along. The men stared. Confusion slid into recognition, then into something closer to fear. Power always recognized its own, especially when it was outmatched. "You should have stopped," he said calmly. One of them scoffed. "You don't know who we are." "I do," he replied. "That's why I waited." He took out his phone. No shaking hands. No hesitation. One deliberate tap. Across the room, screens blinked to life. Not just the ones inside. The glass walls brightened as well, reflections multiplying, revealing what was happening inside the sealed room to the city beyond. Billboards. Digital displays. News tickers scrambling to catch up. Faces appeared everywhere. Mid-crime. Mid-grip. Mid-lie. Phones in their pockets vibrated uselessly. Signals they couldn't control anymore. The room filled with the low electronic sound of systems waking up in unison. "Turn it off," someone said. "Right now." He tilted his head slightly, considering them. "No," he said. "You already finished. Now so will I." Outside, the city watched. And just like that, the attack stopped being a secret. She expected sirens. Paramedics. Police voices. Hands guiding her outside into night air and questions she could answer later. Instead, she woke in silence. Glass stretched from floor to ceiling, revealing a city in motion far below. Lights pulsed. Helicopters cut slow circles through the storm clouds. The height made her stomach drop even while lying still. "You're awake." He stood near the window, jacket gone, sleeves rolled, city light carving sharp lines into his face. "What happened to them?" she asked. "They're being identified," he said, "by people who didn't know they were watching tonight." Her throat tightened. "And me." He turned then, finally looking at her fully. "You survived on camera," he said. "That makes you visible." The word landed heavier than any threat. She sat up, pulse racing. "I want to go home." A pause. "You don't have one anymore." The room felt suddenly smaller. "Your face is everywhere," he continued. "Friends of those men will look for you. Enemies will look faster. And the ones who benefit from silence will want it restored." She swung her legs off the bed. "Then I'll leave the city." He shook his head once. "Final. The city already knows you." A click sounded behind her. The door locked. She froze. "This isn't a prison," he said evenly. "It's a shield. But shields still trap you on one side." She looked at the glass. At the distance. At the world that had already decided who she was tonight. That was when she understood. She had survived. And she wasn't free. The city didn't sleep after the broadcast. Screens replayed the footage in endless loops. Analysts argued. Commentators speculated. Names were whispered carefully, then said louder as confidence grew. Her image was everywhere. Blurry at first. Then sharper. Enhanced. Labeled. She's a witness. She's a victim. She's the reason this happened. None of them felt safe. From the penthouse, she watched the news crawl across the bottom of the screen like a warning she couldn't ignore. Her phone, new, locked, provided by him, buzzed with messages she wasn't allowed to answer. Threats mixed with praise. Curiosity mixed with hate. "You're not protected," he said quietly, standing behind her. "You're valuable." The distinction made her stomach turn. Valuable to who? He didn't answer right away. He changed the screen instead. Faces appeared. Politicians. Business leaders. Men and women who smiled in public and buried problems quietly. The kind of people who didn't panic when crime surfaced, only when patterns did. "These people benefited from what you interrupted," he said. "Some of them funded it. Some of them ordered it. All of them want the noise to stop." She swallowed. "By killing me. By discrediting you if they're careful," he said. "By silencing you if they're not." Her chest tightened. "So this is it. I'm just waiting." He met her gaze. "No. You're deciding." The screen shifted again, this time to a familiar face. "Come." Trusted. A woman speaking into microphones with practiced concern. Relief surged, then died instantly. "She's calling for an investigation," he said. "And she's already questioning your credibility." The realization hit like ice water. The person hunting her wasn't hiding in the dark. They were standing in the light. He waited until the city noise faded into something distant. Night pressed against the glass. The screens went dark. The room felt suspended, cut off from everything that had already decided her fate. "There's another way," he said. She didn't look at him. She already knew what he meant. "I can make you disappear," he continued. "A clean exit. New documents. A place where your face won't follow you." Her fingers curled against the back of the chair. The offer settled into her chest like a weight she'd been carrying for years. "Does it work?" she asked. "Yes. Every time." He hesitated. "Just once." "Almost." She exhaled slowly. A new name. A city where no one watched her too closely. Where she could go back to counting steps instead of headlines. Invisibility. The door she'd always chosen. "And the people who did this?" she asked quietly. "They'll survive," he said. "Power usually does." She turned to face him then. The glass reflected them both. One man who had never run. One woman who had never stopped. "If I leave," she said, "this happens again. To someone else." He didn't deny it. Silence stretched between them. Not empty. Deciding. She straightened. "No," she said. The word felt unfamiliar. Heavy. "Right. I'm done disappearing." Something shifted in his expression. Not approval, not concern. Recognition. "Then," he said slowly, "you stay." And just like that, the choice was made. Training didn't begin with weapons. It began with stillness. He made her sit in empty rooms and describe everything she noticed. The way air moved. The sound of elevators behind walls. Which exits felt wrong and why. Fear had always given her information. Now she learned how to read it instead of drown in it. "You're not panicking," he told her once. "You're forecasting." The words changed something. Physical training came next. Not to make her brutal, but precise. Balance before strength. Control before speed. She learned how to fall without breaking. How to stand without telegraphing intention. How to keep her breathing steady when her body wanted to bolt. She failed. A lot. Every bruise reminded her this wasn't about comfort. Strategy followed. He walked her through scenarios that had already happened, and ones that hadn't yet. How narratives were shaped. How people lied without words. How power responded to exposure. Fear stopped feeling like an enemy. It became a signal. Weeks passed. One night, she caught her reflection in the glass. Posture different, gaze steady. Not harder. Sharper. When a door slammed unexpectedly behind her, she didn't flinch. She turned. That was how she knew. The lights failed without warning. Not just in the room, everywhere. Music cut mid-note. Screens blinked out. The building exhaled as power drained, plunging the space into absolute black. The crowd reacted instantly. Gasps. Shuffling feet. A rising edge of panic. Her body recognized the moment before her mind did. Darkness. No exits. No control. The old reflex surged. And stopped. She inhaled. Slow. Deliberate. Counted once. Not because she had to, but because she chose to. Someone bumped her shoulder. She steadied herself instead of shrinking. Hands reached blindly around her, searching for balance. She didn't freeze. Across the room. He found her without rushing. He lowered himself in front of her, ignoring the whispers that had already started, ignoring the phones that would record whatever happened next. "I'm here," he said softly. She nodded. Not shaking. Grounded. Emergency lights flickered on, red, harsh, revealing everything. Him on the floor. Her standing steady. His hands rested lightly on her wrists, not restraining. Anchoring. Cameras came up immediately. They always did. He didn't move away. "I don't kneel," he said, voice calm, audible to those closest. "Except when it matters." The room watched. And for the first time, power looked like protection. The press conference was already playing when she entered the room. Muted at first. A familiar face framed perfectly by microphones and flags. Come. Reassuring. The kind of presence people trusted without thinking too hard. Her stomach dropped. He turned the volume up. "We are deeply concerned," the woman said, voice steady, maternal. "My office is launching a full investigation into the criminal activity that endangered an innocent young woman." Innocent. The word tasted wrong. "She has a documented history of instability," the woman continued gently, "which makes her vulnerable to manipulation by dangerous men." The room felt colder. That wasn't concern. That was strategy. He paused the screen. "She's not protecting you," he said quietly. "She's disarming you." Images followed, old records, selectively framed headlines, photos taken in bad light. Moments from her past she had survived but never outrun. Her breath shortened. They already had this, she whispered. Yes. The attack wasn't random. The silence wasn't coincidence. The response was rehearsed. They expected you to disappear, he said. Or to break. She stared at the screen, recognition burning through the shock. The system that failed her wasn't broken. It was working. And the person calling for justice had been part of it all along. She went back alone. Not because she had to, but because it mattered that she chose to. The house looked the same as it always had. Perfect angles. Fresh flowers. Silence curated like decor. Every surface polished to reflect control. They embraced for the cameras outside. Inside, the door closed with a familiar finality. You've caused enough damage, the woman said softly, pouring tea. No audience now. No performance necessary. This ends today. She didn't respond. Silence had become her sharpest tool. She sat. Waited. Let the space fill with assumptions. You've always been dramatic, the woman continued, irritation slipping through the mask. You confuse chaos with meaning. Still nothing. The woman mistook quiet for weakness. They always did. I protected you, she said. I contained you. Everything I did was necessary. That word again. Necessary. The room filled with it. With justification. With rehearsed logic spoken too many times without challenge. She remembered everything. The pauses. The tells. The way guilt crept into voice when the truth got close. So she waited. And the woman kept talking. Because people who believe they're safe always do. When it was over, when the justifications had turned into admissions, when strategy became confession, she reached beneath her collar and placed the device on the table. It blinked once. Red. Recording. The silence that followed was absolute. She stood. You taught me how, she said calmly. And for the first time, the woman understood what she'd done. The city didn't celebrate. It absorbed the news the way it absorbed everything else. Quietly, efficiently, already preparing for whatever came next. Arrests were announced. Statements were issued. Carefully worded outrage filled the airwaves. Some names fell. Others didn't. She stood by the window again, watching the lights move below like nothing had really changed. People will say you won, he said behind her. She didn't turn. They always say that when the noise stops. He joined her at the glass, close but not crowding. For the first time since she'd met him, there was no instruction in his posture. No control. Only acknowledgement. You didn't disappear, he said. You didn't break. You didn't ask me to finish it for you. She exhaled slowly. Neither did you. A corner of his mouth lifted. Not a smile. Recognition. This world doesn't forgive, he said. It recalculates. She nodded. She could feel it already. The shift. The attention. The quiet curiosity of people deciding what she was now. Witness. Threat. Something new. Below them, the city kept moving. Somewhere, someone was already planning the next mistake. She straightened. Then let them, she said. He watched her for a long moment, then stepped back, giving her space, not taking it. That was the difference. The danger hadn't ended. But neither had she.